Hey there, my name is Eric Vtuber, and today I'm going to show you guys how to use the Unreal Engine 5.0 interface. Everything I teach you guys here on the channel is focused around using Unreal for VTubing like I'm doing right now. But actually what I'm going to teach you guys today, if you are someone who's looking to use Unreal for game development, virtual production, or as I said, VTubing, what you're going to see on the channel today is going to be very helpful for any of those uses. But this channel really focuses on using Unreal for VTubing. All right, let's dive in and take a look and walk around the interface so I can teach you guys how to use it. All right, so the first thing is, of course, you need to have the Unreal Engine installed. In a previous video, I showed you guys how to install Unreal Engine 5.0.3, which is the latest version right now. So I already have the engine installed on my computer. There's a few projects that I have been working with. This was actually the very first environment that I built, which was where I got started. And then this is the latest environment. You just saw a little piece of that earlier in the video. And then I have a couple other projects that I have downloaded off the web that I use as just my own personal references. So I'm going to launch the engine. And what it's now doing is it's opening a level or an environment that I have already created. And so we're not going to be looking at this today. I'm going to create a brand new project from scratch, but you can set the editor to open the level that you've been working on if you want, just to speed things up. So we'll go up to new and I'll create a brand new project. So under the file menu, I'll create a new project, and then it asks me what type of project do I want to create. And what I want to recommend for you guys to do, even though it's in the games category, is I want you to create a third-person environment. You'll see that there are other environments that you can create, and these are essentially templates. If you've ever used a program like PowerPoint, think of these as templates, although that's a blank template. So you can use it for architecture, you can use it for film, you can use it for automotive, and you can use it for games. The reason that I want you guys to start here and use games is by creating a third-person game, it's going to be very easy for you down the road to import your character and to move around the environment. So if you like the approach that I am using, then I suggest you create a new project, games, and third person. Now you have two choices. You can use the Blueprint version or the C++. I am using Blueprint for everything that I teach you guys here on the channel because I am not a C++ programmer. So I'm choosing Blueprint. The target platform that I'm running my environments on are my desktop, so that's right. The quality preset, I'm going with maximum, and I do want starter content, and I recommend that you guys do that as well because that's going to put some assets and things in your environment that we will be able to use. And then if you have a 3D graphics card, which I do, I have an NVIDIA 3080 graphics card, you can turn on ray tracing, although not required. So let's call this project Learning Unreal and create the project. And now we're going to open up pretty much a blank project, although it'll contain some of the third-party content. All right, so we are now in Unreal. We have loaded what's called a level. Sometimes these are referred to as maps, but we have some starter content. Now, first, let me tell you how to move around the interface. I'm going to hold down my left mouse button. And so when I move the mouse left, it's panning the camera in the viewport. This area that you're seeing in the middle is called the viewport. I'm just panning left and right. If I hold the right mouse button and I move the mouse, I can move all around. So the left mouse, I can move forward, I can move back, left and right. And if I use the right mouse, I can do all those things, but I can freely look around. And then if I hold both buttons together, I go up and down, left and right, and those are both of the mouse buttons. You will find at first this is a little confusing, but boy, before you know it, watch this. If I want to go to that corner, I can go there, move down, move in, move back. My brain is completely tuned in to where I want to move. Blue box, blue box, blue box, back, up, down, and you will learn very, very quickly how to move around your environment. Those are with the mouse buttons, okay? I want to teach you guys some of these icons up here. So the mouse, if you click on the arrow, that's for selecting an object in your environment. And this is for moving. that object. So if you notice when I click on that, I have now chosen where I can move this object in the environment. Now let's explain how you move things since I now have this selected. The red right here is moving this object back and forth in this direction. And all I'm doing is holding the left mouse and I'm moving that object back and forth. If I grab the green, I move it back and forth in that direction. And the blue, you guessed it, up and down. Now let's say I want to make sure that this box is right on the ground. Notice how it's below the ground and there it's too high. If I hit the end key, END, on my keyboard, it drops it to the surface that is below it. So that's a great shortcut to just drop it using the end key. Now you can also see that in between I can intersect, and that allows me to move an object in two directions because it's basically both arrows. So if I move this one, I'm moving it in these two directions. And if I grab that one over there, it's in these two. So that is how to move an object and how to drop it on the ground to speed things up. Now let's say I want to rotate this object. That's what this button does. So now by clicking that button, I can rotate the object, and you can probably guess which way you're rotating it just by looking. And if you notice that 0, 10, 20, 30, and then negative, I can see exactly how many degrees. So when I drop something in the world, if I rotate it 90 degrees, I've moved it, 1/4 of a circle. 180 degrees, you get the idea. Now what is this button right here? This button is for scaling, all right? And if I want to scale that, if you notice up above, O would be the shortcut to scale objects. So if I hit O, if I'm in this mode right here and I select the object and hit O, that will also is the same thing as clicking on it. Now, I want to teach you guys a little something. I have a Logitech mouse and it has a bunch of buttons on it. And so what I have done is mapped my buttons so that I move in between these three very easily. And I really like that. So if I want to move something up, then I want to rotate it, I can do that. And then this button, I was going to tell you what it does. It's scaling. So it moves something just like up and down. These adjust it in that direction. And if you click the middle box and choose it, it scales everything at the same time. All right. If you ever want to reset an object back to its original properties, over here in this side of the menu, these up here is the outliner, and that contains every object in the scene. So if I click on this right here, that's that object. If I click on this, that's that object. And here's my player start. All right, so every one of these different objects, and then when you select an object, it automatically goes there. So now I've got these properties because I changed its location. I'll reset it, and now it's moved it way over there. I can change the rotation back by doing that. Let me bring that back over so you can see it. I'll rotate. See how the numbers are changing over there on the bottom right. But if I click reset, just moves it back to its original settings. And then the scale, same thing. All right, so there you go. That's how to move an object, rotate an object, move it around the scene, and even reset it if you need to. Now this object over here is a box. And it has a particular color on it. We're going to learn a lot about how to create shapes and create environments and that type of stuff. But today we're just learning about the basic interface. Let's add something into this scene now that we know how to move around. Up right here where it says quickly add to project, when you click this drop down, you can add different things. And it may seem a little overwhelming at first on all these different things that you can add. We're going to get into them in subsequent episodes, but right now I just want to show you how to add a basic shape, and so we'll add a cube. And now I have a cube, and if you notice that cube is a different color because no texture has been applied to it yet. So you already know how to move it, so I won't spend time there. If I want to add another type of shape, like maybe I want to add a sphere, I can do that, and now I have a sphere. And just like the other box, if I hit end, it will drop these items onto there. And if I want to put something on top of it, that's where now those combination of rotation and movement helps, because I can grab this and pull it over. I can kind of use the shadow to see, but maybe I want to sweep around. I'm like, okay. And then maybe when I'm right there, I can hit the N key and drop that ball on top and just kind of move around and make sure that I like where it is. And now I've almost made like a ball fountain. All right. Now, if you can tell, when I'm moving these things, it's snapping a little bit. And it's snapping because I have this grid turned on. And I do recommend when you start placing objects in the environment, you keep the grid on and you can change the snapping scale. So I've gone down to 1 now. It's a lot more fluid because it's a very smaller snapping. And if I go to 10, it's going at a higher. Think of graph paper. I'm moving it in less fragments. If I want to turn snapping completely off, I would click this. And the thing is now, if you look over here on my rotation and location, we're down into decimal points. So I'm going to turn that off. I just did undo, and I'm going to go back to snapping. And now when you see I move, it's moving in whole numbers. So something for you to keep in mind is the more you have snapping on and align things that way, it'll be easier for you. But if you need to make micro adjustments, you certainly can do that. All right, this one over here is for rotation. So remember, I have some shortcuts on my mouse. I'm going to click on rotation, or I could have gone right up here and clicked. And now I'm going to rotate. Notice we have the different intervals right here. So if I want to rotate at 90-degree intervals, actually, let me use the box, a little easier to see. I can move at 90. Now, because it's a box, it doesn't look actually like it's rotating, but trust me, it is. And you can control how much degrees of movement you are doing. Now you can see it now when it's not 90 there. So that's what these different icons are here for. We'll skip snapping for right now, and we'll skip this one, but you just, you know, it's 2 that I rarely ever use. This is for your scaling options, so how much you want to be able to scale something in very small fractions, or scaling in a larger interval. And so if you find you need to change that, that's where you can change your scaling percentage. Then this last one is the camera speed. And I'm going to really bump it up so you can see that when I'm going here, whoa, that's super fast, very hard to control. So I find, for me personally, that 4 is a very good setting for me to move around the environment. I've got a lot of control. I'm just doing left mouse, right mouse, both. And again, it just comes as second nature to me, almost like playing a video game. I know exactly how to move around the environment. Just comes with practice. All right, and I do love my hotkeys on my mouse. All right, so now we've covered these fully over here, and I've showed you where all your different items are. Now, if I come over here to the sphere and I hit delete on my keyboard, so long sphere. So this is a list, an item list basically, of everything that's in there. And if you do want to ever rename something, you can rename that item. Where would you think you do that? Right under edit. So I come into edit, I rename, and I call it my box. All right, so that is it. And if you notice in the playground right here, you can even group things together. So my box is not in the playground, but I'll drop it in there, and I can collapse and expand that. And if I also click this eye right here, I'm hiding all the contents in that particular folder. So if I take my box out of there, then when I hide the playground, the box is still there. So I'm a little anal retentive in how I organize everything, and I do love to have folders and subfolders for all of my environments because it makes it just very tidy and very easy to move things around. Now let's go over here to the left side of the screen. What the heck is this stuff down over here? Well, these are your folders for your content. Almost think of this as your My Documents folder for your project. And so the all is everything. And then you have content, and then you have your character folder, your level prototyping, starter content, and some third person stuff. Guess what's in the third person folder? You have your maps, and you have your blueprints. We'll get into blueprints another time, but ooh, watch this. I can drag my character out, and I've now added a third person character into the scene. So your different elements, assets, call them what you will, are all here organized by folders that you can create. And if I right now click on play, oh my goodness, I'm able to move my player around And that mannequin, that's what it's called, is there in my scene. So I've added a player into that, and all I'm doing is WSA and D. If I hit the space bar, I jump. And if I hold down the right mouse and move around, I'm now looking at myself. Think about how easy this is for you to become a VTuber once we move from these mannequins to you importing your own character. So there you go. Let's hit escape, and I'm out of play mode. So when you click this, it's simulating what you have created. It just runs it. If I hit stop, I'm done. And that mannequin that I put inside there, if I hit delete, he or she is gone, kind of androgynous. Click play again, my character starts. You might be wondering, why does my character start right there? Well, one of the objects in the scene is this little controller right here, and that's what's called a player start. All right, so the starter content has that in there, but when you create a level from scratch, you're gonna figure out where you want your person to start. And if I move that over to here and click on play, now I start over there. All right, so in the content, as you import different 3D models and create things, you're gonna wanna create folders. And the way to do that is if you right click, you can create a new folder, and I'll call this my new folder. And so I can organize things by putting them in here. And on your hard drive, they will be in a project folder that will correspond to this. So if I want to put stuff in a folder, I can put it in here. That doesn't put it into the game. Well, let me move this up, it's saying bad size, because it was too close to something. When I put something in a folder, if I import something in here, that is not putting it inside the game. It's just making the asset available to the project. I actually need to drag it or place it in the scene. When I say place it, I can do things, here. So let's add a couple other things for today to just give you a couple basics. Maybe I want to add a light to the scene. Maybe I'm working in a dark environment and I want to add a light. Lights are right here, and we have all different types of lights. I'm going to just add a point light. And if you notice, when I added that light, you can see it's reflecting on the surface. It adds more color. Now this is starter content, so the whole thing is kind of lit up. But when I teach you guys how to create environments more from scratch, we're gonna need to add environment lighting, and you're gonna add lots of these lights to your scene. Another light that I like to put in, especially for VTubing, is what's called a rect light. It's a square light, and it gives off lighting. Let me move it to the wall so you can see that right there. And that's really good for lighting your character. Like if this was a backdrop, and you're a VTuber and you've got a nice backdrop, and you want to light up your face for the camera, then using these rec lights are really good. And boy, there's a lot still we can learn in terms of sizing the rec light and changing its properties. But now you get the basics of how to drop objects into the environment and move them around. And I recommend after this video that you just practice that you build a new level, third person under games, add some items in, move them around, and just practice your moving. Couple little things before we wrap up this episode is saving. All right, so up here in the top left corner, you can click that button and that will save your level. And if you bring things in and you've modified assets, saving all down here saves the assets that you have modified, where this is saving your overall level. All right, so level and assets. All right, rest assured that if you do exit the program, it will notify you if you haven't saved things, but want to just show you where saving your asset changes here and changing your level are right there. Okay. All right. Last thing I want to show you is one other type of object that you can add to your scene. Let's say in my environment, I want to put a poster right here on the wall. How would I do that? Well, I go up to the add menu and I move down to shapes, and I choose this last one called plane. A plane is a flat surface. And when I choose that, it drops that object in there. Now we've already learned how to move things, so I'm going to grab the red handle and bring it out. And then I'm going to, using my mouse, or I could have come up here, I'm going to rotate the plane 90 degrees. So now it's a flat plane. I'm going to push it back, and right when it gets through the wall, right there, I'm just going to put it right there. And what I've done is I've gone to the internet and I have downloaded a picture. And she's right here. So I just went using Chrome, found a JPEG, grabbed it, and I'm now just gonna drag it and drop it into my new folder. Remember that folder we created? So now I've put it in, it has imported it as an asset to the folder. Now I'm gonna take it, guess what? I'm gonna drag it onto this flat surface and we have a poster. All right, and you're probably saying, well, Eric, it's facing the wrong direction. Well, we know what to do there. We can just come right up here to rotation and use this dimension to rotate it 90 degrees. And if we wanted to scale it, we could make the poster taller and wider. And then let's just go back. And there we are. We added some imagery to our level. So that's it for today. I want you guys to create your own third-person level. And I want you to practice adding cubes and shapes and a couple lights, and then maybe add a poster, all right? Let me know how you guys are doing. We're gonna teach you guys more here in the Unreal Interface, but I think that is enough for today, and we're on our way to getting you to become a VTuber.